ninja generation. No income, no job, no assets. You got a lot to look forward to.
Blood, buddy. He's gonna be your blood.
Someone reminded me the other evening that I once said, greed is good. Now it seems it's legal. But folks, it's greed that makes my bartender buy 3 houses he can't afford with no money down. And it's greed that makes your parents refinance their $200,000 house for $250,000. And then they take that extra $50,000, they go down to the mall. And they buy a plasma TV, cell phones, computers, an SUV, and hey, why not a second home while we're at it? Because gee whiz, I mean, we all know the prices of houses in America always go up, right? And it's greed that makes the government in this country cut the interest rates to 1% after 9/11. So we could all go shopping again. They got all these fancy names for trillions of dollars of credit. CMOs, CDOs, SIVs, ABSs. I honestly think there's maybe only 75 people in the world who know what they are. But I'll tell you what they are. They're WMDs. Weapons of mass destruction. When I was away, that's what they are. It seemed like greed got greedier with a little bit of envy mixed in. Hedge funders were walking home with 50, $100 million a year. So Mr. Banker, he looks around and he says, my life looks pretty boring. So he starts leveraging his interests up to 40, 50 to 1. With your money, not his, yours. Because he could. You're supposed to be borrowing, not them. And the beauty of the deal, no one is responsible. Because everybody's drinking the same Kool-Aid. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, 40% of all American corporate profits came from financial services. Not production, not anything remotely to do with the needs of the American public. The truth is, we're all part of it now. Banks, consumers, we're moving money around in circles. We take a buck, we shoot it full of steroids, and we call it leverage. I call it steroid banking. Now, I've been considered a pretty smart guy when it comes to finance.
That's fantastic, man.
And maybe I was in prison too long, but sometimes it's the only place to stay sane and look out through those bars and say, hey, is everybody out there nuts? It's clear as a bell to those that pay attention. The mother of all evil is speculation. Leveraged debt. Bottom line, it's borrowing to the hilt. And I hate to tell you this, but it's a bankrupt business model. It won't work. It's systemic, malignant, and it's global, like cancer. It's a disease, and we gotta fight back. How are we gonna do that? How are we gonna leverage that disease back in our favor? Well, I'll tell you. 3 words. Buy my book.
Come on, come on.
Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And tonight, investors, are you listening to the FOMO? Are you paying attention to news, streaming, online, social media? What are you paying attention to? But you should be checking out your own information because you need to know if it's fact or fiction. And welcome to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday Night live stream. Stop struggling now, gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. All right, welcome back. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you share the videos. Why? Because you never know who's looking for information. This information could be valuable to somebody else, may not be valuable, but you never know because oftentimes people are working hard and then they run across an email or social media. So make sure you show some love and share. And don't forget to smash the like button on your way in, so the YouTube gods know that we have someone in the house. Someone like Laverne Penix is here. Welcome to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday Night live stream with that icon next to his name that I humbly appreciate. And ladies and gentlemen, in this YouTube street, he's known as Mr. Cool. And once again, he brings the tagline, "Hello, SSN Nation. I hope everyone is doing well. I received a notification and saw the trailer. Thank you so much for that. That is one in the house, and I appreciate it. And let me know when you're going over to Spain, because I want to make sure I remember the dates just in case somebody else is going to Spain. I think it's next month, right? October? Yeah, September, October. So let us know and say hello to Mrs. Cool as well. All right, the retiree is here. Victor Marrero is in the house. Welcome to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday Night live stream, where it's members only that can be in the chat, those with the icon that I humbly appreciate. And he brings his tagline, "Hello all, let's do this." And that's what we try to do. We try to give you valuable information. Now, if you can't get in the chat room tonight, there's a reason why. It's because you have to be a member of the channel on Wednesday nights. That's one of the perks. Besides, you can always join me on the channel for any live stream if you're a member as well. So those are some of the perks that you get when you're a member of the channel more than a subscriber. So what I want to say is there was a guy that came into the Money Making Monday live stream. And so I think it was Ocon 36. He did not send me an email. And he was asking me about how to get rid of $40,000 worth of debt. And I said, well, debt reduction can help you. It'll mess up your credit for 2 years or a year and a half or so, but you'll lose 50% of the debt. You're going to have to make some sort of payments, but you need to talk to Tracy. So I'm going to put it in the chat room because everybody can get the chat room. But if you need your credit repaired, so to speak, it'll take like a year and a half, 2 years. But again, you have to call her or email her, let her know you're from SSN Nation, Eric sent you, and just let her know. She's family, so let her know. All right, so I'm going to put in the chat room, Tracy at resolvefinance.com. So if you need debt reduction, which means you're maxed out, you want to get rid of your credit, your debt, and there is a way, but it's called debt reduction. There is a video that we did. We had her on a live stream, but that was like a year ago probably. And so this can help you get you'll be back in good graces with credit in about 1.5 to 2 years. So it's messed up right now. It might take you forever if you don't do, drastic changes. But Tracy at resolvefinance.com. And again, let her know Eric said, I'm here. I need a little help. She'll go over everything with you. Just email her. All right. So hopefully, Osan 36, hopefully you were watching tonight, and hopefully that'll help you. I put it in the chat room. Now, again, only people that can be in the chat room are people with the icon, like Laverne Penix, Victor Marrero, that has the icon, as you can see on the screen. We will be leaving on the 30th of September. Oh, only in like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Okay, so you'll be there in October. I see early October. Cool. I understand. Well, thank you. So we'll have to keep track just in case somebody else, because Paul Castillo was talking about he was going over there. All right. Nice rally of the market today. Don't count NVIDIA out yet. Portfolio is going to the moon fast. Tech leading the charge. Okay. This is what we're talking about. In fact, thank you for bringing this up, Victor Marrero. Because investors, do you react to the FOMO? Or are you doing your research news? Is it going to be a bull run? Well, see, if you're doing your own research or you're here in the SSN Nation, Victor Marrero just mentioned NVIDIA. That stock has been hot for a while. So is AMD. I mean, let's call it the chip stocks have been hot for a while. So the question is, there's some FOMO with NVIDIA already. But forget the FOMO. Because again, the key phrases and the key words are they are doing stock buybacks over the next 3 years. They're buying their own stock back in the next 3 years in increments. They have $7 billion left from the last few years stock buybacks. That's why the price increases rapidly. They have another $50 billion they're going to do in the next 3 years. So it's $57 billion total. So expect the price to increase. I don't really care what the economy is, whatever happens, but I do know this. The odds of a interest rate decrease by the Federal Reserve and stocks not going up, I don't know what economic person will say otherwise. But all I can say is do your own research. But I'm betting on interest rates come down, buybacks inflate stock prices. There's a boom. I'm betting on NVIDIA just like a whole bunch of other people would be betting on NVIDIA, right? It makes sense. It doesn't make any sense otherwise. They're buying their own stock, and they're not the only company doing this. You can find several other tech giants who have cash to actually buy back their shares of stock. And again, doing your research, you will find one thing about this. The one thing is executives and people who are given stocks when they become an executive of the company, sometimes it's triggered in their agreements. If the stock price reaches X amount, then you get X amount of stock. And usually it's not just 10 shares of stock. All right. It's worth millions usually. This is the kind of thing Elon Musk has. That's why he's always doing FOMO. That's why he'll say robo-taxis in 2017. You see where I'm going with this? But it did not happen. That's why he'll say the Cybertruck in 2019, next year. But it, of course, did not happen. He's the carnival barker of doing this, which actually it's manipulation, which is weird. But the point is, that's why you see companies do press releases. They always got to have something coming out to make it seem like they're going to make more money. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But they have to always do that. So then people will buy their shares of stock because they're facilitating the buyback as well in some cases. I'm not saying Tesla's doing stock buybacks. I'm just saying when you have a bull run and you listen to FOMO, you may be buying on FOMO. Just like now, Elon Musk says we're going to Mars this past week in, I don't remember how much he said, 4 years or something. So again, FOMO, is it going to happen? Hell no. Can't even get to the moon, let alone to Mars. So again, that FOMO though keeps the stock potentially, because some people will say, man, he's marketing himself so good, he's a genius. So just like what's happening right now, the robots, he announced that in like 2020. Here we are 4 years later, and still no robots walking around, right? And when they go to China at the actual robot convention, where all the robot companies are there to show off what their robots can do, the Tesla one is in a glass case, not showing what it can do. So now robots, so we have robots, we have Mars, and we have robo-taxis. Three things. So that gives the market, like Kathy Wood from ARK Investment goes, oh yeah, that means the company's worth trillions of dollars, because if he's able to pull this off, well, okay, when's these trillion of dollars going to happen? Because nothing is happening in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Let's just put it plain and simple. All right. So that is FOMO, to keep a stock at a certain level or activity, or you're in the, in the news. All right. Let's see here. We will be there for the month of October. Oh, okay. Go ahead then. Have a nice time. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang said today they can't keep up with their chip demand. Oh, see, here we go right here. Big companies trying to jump the line to get their product first. It's crazy. Long-term investment for certain. See, this is what I'm talking about. Doing research and a little FOMO. But here's the difference between what I just told you about Tesla and what I'm saying about NVIDIA. NVIDIA actually is going to report, just like their last quarter, they're reporting units sold. And they have hardware and software and some other factors. So therefore, the next quarter, when they report the next one, you'll see what the actual numbers are. That you will know, hey, do we have another $30 billion quarter? It's easy to see. If it drops down to 18, people are going to be like, well, they're not ordering it. But if it stays around 25, 27 to 30, 31, then there's still people buying. And I anticipate that for NVIDIA, that is what's going to happen. It's common sense to me. So therefore, it's not FOMO. It's common sense. You've done your research. You know what their quarterly numbers are. You know if what they're saying is true, because in 3 months, not even 2 months from now, there'll be another report. You can see it. And here's the other thing. If you did your research, then you know on the fourth quarter, they're coming out with, is the fourth quarter? Oh, wait, we're almost in the fourth quarter. October, November, and December is fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, Blackwell comes out, the new software. So now, Victor Moreau alludes to, people are going to order. They're going to order because they can't be left behind. The companies who don't make chips, who don't have the software for the technology, they have to buy it. And so there comes hundreds of millions of dollars into NVIDIA, which means whether it's stock buybacks or computers or software or anything that they're buying, you're going to know what those numbers are. But I bet you there will be another 25 to $30 billion, if not more. Because I'm going to say it again. America is not first. People do not understand this. The rest of the world is eating our lunch on several fronts. We're too busy worrying about competition, but not in the way you think about it as a capitalist system. We're too busy in the United States government, they are too busy acting like a communist country. They don't want technology from other countries or companies to come into the United States because oftentimes it's cheaper, it's on par, and it's accessible. So now people would order immediately. So just keep in mind. So companies are competing not only here in America, they're competing around the world for world dominance as well. So as long as you have to go to NVIDIA, This won't keep up forever, but they have to ride the wave. And so as long as they keep advancing beyond everybody else, at least for the American companies, then they're still going to have their 30 billion, 30, 40 billion dollars worth of orders, plus stock buybacks. So I anticipate their stock to rise over the next 2, 3, 4 years, because now other companies will be able to refinance their debt as the federal funds rate goes down. So this is all financials, and it makes sense to me that there should be an increase in price. There should be a run on tech. I just don't see how there's no other way. And here's the other thing, in my opinion, there's only so many tech companies that can even buy their NVIDIA chips, software, and everything they're going to need, and have the infrastructure to implement what they want to use the software for. So they're the big boys, the Fortune 500s that traditionally have $1 billion or more in revenues or profits, and maybe double digits to 100 times that amount. So they don't mind spending 500 million, 1 billion. All you need is 30 companies to buy $1 billion worth. That's it. But in reality, it ends up being more than that. But all I'm trying to say is they can get their numbers that people will like. I don't even know what the street is asking of them, but I'd be willing to bet you probably a little matching of what happened this past quarter. I wouldn't think they're asking them to do $40 billion, but I would not be surprised when in this next quarter, I wouldn't be surprised that January, February, March, whenever they report for that first quarter of 2025, I would expect them to actually beat the numbers they had for this past quarter. I don't think it's going to be the same numbers. I think it's going to be at least 10 to 20% higher. It's just like a computer right now, just like your cell phone. Like I told people on Monday, I have a Note 9. I will not even see a new phone that's highly more advanced than the Note 9 until probably another 4 or 5 years. Or if this thing just comes into a brick and goes dead. But I don't even know how it's going to be a brick and go dead, because you can always put a new battery in here. Unless some software malfunctions, that's about the only way it's going to happen, that I'm going to get a new phone. So then I'll be in the new era, but I'm way behind. So that's my point. If I need to do something that the new phones can help me with, which they can, but I'm not in a race, so I don't have to worry about it. I just need to answer the phone, do a few things. But if I was in a race, then I would have to be buying the new and latest and greatest phones. That's what I'd be doing. But I'm not in a race. But if you're in a race for the best AI, Chat PT, what is Chat BT? I can't remember now. But anyhow, the chat and the NVIDIA, the AI, chat and NVIDIA, chips and all that is going to be an industry amongst themselves. That bothers me. Chat GPT. Yeah, that's it. So anyhow, that's the thing right there. Let me know what you guys think, who's in the house tonight. If you've joined us and you can't get in the chat room, there's a reason why. On Wednesday nights, only members with the icon can be in the chat room. And by the way, I have to start doing this because in December, we're going to be doing some real estate. In the Dominican Republic, we have our own SSN Lifestyle Punta Cana Investors Forum. December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I have to promote that now all the time because it's only a few months away. What we do is we've been talking about real estate investing. We've been talking about no credit check, no qualifying, no barriers to entry. But on the backside, either you're going to have to pay cash or you can't pay cash on delivery for the amount owed. Then you're going to need credit. So you will have to fix up your credit over 2 or 3 year course of 2 or 3 or 4 years. Nothing wrong with that. But you can get in at a low price, like 1 bedroom, $99,000. 1 bedroom condo, $99,000 in the Dominican Republic. Inside Vista Cana, units available. But 15% down on 99,000 is 15,000. Your payments, they're going to be roughly around $1,500 per month for about 2 years, 3, 4 months. And then after that, on delivery, you're going to owe 40%, which is 40,000, or maybe a little more, 50%. But either way, 40 or 50%. So at that time, you would have to come up with either the other 50 grand or 40 grand. So either you have to finance it or you need the cash. So you'll need credit eventually. But to get started, you get a cheap price. You buy the real estate. The European Union is going to reduce their interest rate, I believe tomorrow. Well, which means today. Well, their time almost. But that means they already have the foreshadowing of the Federal Reserve in America is going to reduce their rate. So we know that's going to happen. We just don't know if it's going to be 0.25 or 0.5. Some people are suggesting 0.25. They don't want to be too aggressive. I say it doesn't really matter. The stock market will be aggressive. They'll welcome any type of rate cut. They won't care. So therein lies the situation. Let me know what you guys think. And again, if you can't get in the chat room, there's a reason why. On Friday night at 9:10 p.m., make sure you join us. Now, the SSN Lifestyle Punta Cana Investors Forum is $199 per person. Why is there a fee? Well, it doesn't include airfare and it doesn't include hotel. But the reason why there's a fee, because we have things going on. We're going to be going to meet lawyers the first day. And notice I said plural lawyers. The reason why is so you, as a person, if you have questions on buying real estate, starting a business, getting residency, or anything else that I wouldn't be thinking about, buying a business there, then you should be talking to them in the meetings that we have. So some of these are unlimited time. There is no time. We had, I think the longest meeting we had with one lawyer has been 2.5 to 3 hours. Ask anything you want, no additional cost, right? No obligation. You don't even have to use the lawyer. It's no obligation. They'll give you the information. That's what we do. All right. And then we go to another one. So there may be, because this is what happened before. We're in the first one. People are writing things down. They're listening. And then when you leave, you have these, oh, why didn't I ask that? So then when we go to the second one, you're just like, you have the preview already on kind of how it goes. Then you're like, oh, so then you'll ask the second one, hey, what about this? Because now you're familiar. So now you get to move ahead a little faster. And then we can help you get open up bank accounts and things like that within a day. Well, before you get there, you can get qualified. So that is day one, December 2nd. December 3rd, then sure, we'll go to Seven Palms. We'll go see the Seven Palms project because they have a project across the street from the beach, the man-made beach, not the ocean, the man-made beach in the complex. So sitting on your balcony, sitting in your living room, you can see the man-made beach that has a Vista Cana Beach Club, which is called Vista Cana Clubhouse. So it has a restaurant and fitness room and kids playground area, things like that at this man-made beach, salt water. So therefore, we go there, check out their projects. Sometimes we go, so that way you go look around, we go drive around, then you'll see the area. So you'll understand the lay of the land if you want to invest in the area. So we'll check out a couple of projects, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 2. It all depends, but all day, right? That's what we do. Wednesday, we're starting something a little different because what's going to end up happening is we have people who don't understand loan financing in the Dominican Republic. A lot of people think it's the same as in America. It's different. You don't get to do the same things you do in America. And the numbers, the interest rate is not even 7. So who knows what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years on delivery if you bought a new project, but it could be 8, It could be 10%. It could be 12% if you get a loan. And adjustable rate loans at 12% or 13% or 14%. So it's no joke. So you need to understand what's going to qualify, because in the Dominican Republic, they started doing something new called condo hotels. Well, not really new. They just started doing more of them. It was like one here kind of thing, but now it's an actual business model. There's in Punta Cana area, there's now 9 condo hotels, maybe 10, where there used to be like none. I mean, well, 1 or 2, single one, I think was one. Palace Suites was one. All right. So there was only 1 or 2 that I would classify. Now they're out front saying condo hotels. So you need to know if you can finance condo hotels. I don't even know yet. I can't get an answer from the loan guys. So I don't even know if they know. That's how crazy this is. And so where we come from in America, if we buy a condo hotel, you cannot get an FHA. You cannot get any government loan. You have to get a commercial type loan. So if they require you to put down 25% or 30%, if you're financing it, that's what you're going to have to do. You don't get to put down 3% or 5 or 10% or 20. You don't get none of that. And you don't get an FHA, you can forget about it. So over there, I think they're going to count it as commercial as well. So what's the value of the commercial property? I don't know. But we're going to find out December 4th. That's a Wednesday. So you want to be around for that as well. Go to ssnlifestyle.com. Get your tickets now, because after the first row of $199 is sold out, the next ticket prices go to $249. Every 5, it increases about $50. All right. There's only 3 $199.99 tickets left. So I would suggest you go over there and order today. Love to see you in the DR, joining me and a few other SSN Nation members, and it would be a blast. All right. Victor Marrero. Let me see. Yep. It comes on. That's weird. Don't go for FOMO if the stock is not a blue chip. Exactly. I say do the research, but don't fight the trend. Exactly. As they say, don't stop a falling knife if it goes down. Calculated risk always pay off at the end. And that's sound advice right there, because again, remember, you have to make decisions based on reality, not your hopes, not your dreams. You can wish, but sometimes you have to actually go with what it really looks like. And that should be somewhat of the policy. You can always hedge. You can always take risk. Everybody has different risk factors. I'm not saying everybody has the same risk factors. Some people will take high risk. Like I said, we talk YieldMax ETFs here. Down below in the description box, if you still haven't downloaded Robinhood or Webull, where you get free shares of stock for downloading the software, you get 1 share of stock from Robinhood. And if you go to Webull, as soon as you make a deposit, then you could get, they have different promotions. Sometimes it's 5 shares. Sometimes it's 5 fractional shares. Sometimes it's 10 fractional shares. They have all kind of different promotions with Webull. So make sure you download both of the softwares so you can get yourself some free shares of stock. Hopefully that will help you get started. That'll get you a brokerage account. Then you can mess around in there and search. But again, that's what's going on. And very well said, Victor Marrero. I appreciate it. And he says, what's up with this condo hotel trend to DR? I saw a Facebook ad today about another condo hotel. I believe it's Santo Domingo, the capital. Exactly. Yeah, I haven't even expanded upon the condo hotels all over the island, because they're going to be in Sosua, Puerto Plata, over in there. They're talking about them as well. This is crazy. If this trend continues, I think the state should regulate. See, yeah, well, it's going to be, yeah, that's going to be a problem. Again, I like what you're saying, but it seems that regulation in the DR is sorely lacking. Sorely lacking. That means you have to have an agency that's going to regulate it. Where are you going to get the money from? To me, it seems like they should have enough money from taxes, from permits and all this, but And the 18%, by the way. I'm just like, Jesus. But that's the magic question, because nobody knows what's going on right now in the DR. It's the wild, wild west, as somebody has recently said. I agree. You guys have noticed I haven't really talked too much about projects in the Dominican Republic. It's because I'm scared. I'll just tell you like it is. Because you have to understand, I didn't know any of the projects that were the 9 projects that was announced was condo hotels. And the other one, Kaya, we were at a meeting in May for our SSN Lifestyle Punta Cana Investors Forum. And they were telling us and selling us, because it just came out, to get Kaya. We were trying to get a special SSN Nation deal where studio units would have cost $90,000. E. White and Mo Better were actually making a deal that if they bought, then they would get, I believe it was 2 or 3 more for us to promote on SSN Lifestyle for a few weeks, so other people could get a studio unit for $90,000 in downtown Punta Cana. But guess what happened? They reneged on the deal, because when we were there, we had a special rate, friends and family rate. So we were trying to get they were kind enough, as we always do when we're there together, we're trying to get everybody the same awesome deal. So when they're there, they're thinking of us. They're part of the SSN Nation fam. So they said, hey, if we're going to buy, then you have to give the same deal to these other people. And we'll give you our, I believe, $1,000 down to reserve, because at that point it wasn't for sale really. So you could just give $1,000 to hold it, reserve, so to speak. Then when it comes out, then you would be able to buy. But the whole presentation never said anything about condo hotel. Nothing. So the deal blows up, because when they say, okay, we're going to do something, but where's the other 3 units for the same 90,000? I think they had 80, but let's say it was 90. Where's the other 3 or 4 units that's 90 grand? Because that was the deal. All of a sudden, oh no, all those are gone. Wait, we were in negotiations. That's what you said the deal was. So actually, by default, neither of them bought the condo. Now, this is in May. All of a sudden, it's like July, and they send over a video on their social media, and on the video it says condo hotel. And I'm like, we were in a meeting with the master brokers. Nobody said anything about a condo hotel, because that'd be a immediate DOA, dead on arrival. So I was shocked. I was like, what do you, even though nobody bought there from SSN Nation, thankfully. But the point is, we were in the meeting. Nobody said anything about a condo hotel, because I would have immediately said, hell no, that doesn't work. So anyhow, that's just the moral to the story I'm trying to bring up. So they're one property that officially, when they were doing it, they never mentioned. Then these other new ones, Wave Garden, Secret Garden, all these properties all of a sudden pop up talking about Poseidonia. I'm trying to think. There's a lot. All of a sudden, they're Aston properties with bogus rules. You cannot stay there. So again, I don't want to get into the condo hotel thing, but just keep in mind, if you buy a condo hotel, you cannot stay there. And what do I mean by that? You can't stay there past a certain time, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, or 30 days. You're not going to be able to stay there. And you think that you're going to be able to stay there after your 30 days? You're wrong. You can stay there after your 30 days, but you're going to have to come out of pocket like you're renting from a hotel. You might get a discount, but nonetheless, you're going to be paying on top of your HOAs that you pay monthly. And now that begs the question, which I never even really thought about. If I own a condo hotel and I can only stay there, let's just say 30 days, then why am I paying HOAs all year long? Now that I'm thinking about it, that doesn't even make any sense. I can't even stay there. And the HOA management company is getting almost, well, let's put it this way. After everything's paid for, I'm getting 50% or less of the gross. And they might be getting 30 or 35. I don't even know what the breakdown is because they never broke that out yet. But all I'm trying to say is I'm getting 50% of the revenue, but I'm paying HOAs every month when I can only stay there for 30 days maximum. Now actually, I got to add that one down to my list. I didn't even think about that. So I'm renting it out 11 months of the year to somebody else, and I'm paying the HOAs. And if somebody breaks something, I'm paying for it too. This is just high risk nonsense. Anyhow, I won't get into that tonight because this is FOMO night. This is, are you doing your own research? This is what I'm talking about, just like this research now. But that's the trend, man. I don't know what's going on. Everything is going great until it's not. The condo hotel concept is another lead. Unfortunately, it may take some people to lose money before others pay attention. I hope to be wrong here. You're not going to be wrong, Victor Marrero. You're not going to be wrong. They're attempting to do something that I don't know if there's any place on the planet that has tried this. And this, again, this is research. So I'll just put it to people plain and simple. There's people watching right now. We have Victor Marrero here and Mr. Cool's in the house in the chat room. If you can't get in the chat room, there's a reason. Only members with the icon can get in the chat room. Tonight, on Friday night at 9:10 p.m., we'll talk about this in a little bit more because I'm talking about the Florida condos right now as well. The disaster zone. And I did a part 1 earlier today. So check that out, because do not buy a condo in Florida until you see that video. You need to know how old that condo project is. You need to find out if the HOA is fully funded for repairs. You need to find out a whole bunch of stuff. But that'll be a part of part 2. I lost my train of thought because I got into that. But we were talking about the condo hotels. Let's see. I missed something here. My experience with condo hotels in Orlando, you can only use your unit 14 days a year. Yeah. See, yeah. And that's outside the peak season. So you're strapped. Yeah. That's it exactly. Aston will let you stay. Well, you have enough points with Aston in the Dominican Republic to stay 30 days in the off season. And like Victor Marrero says, in high season, you can stay, if I remember right, 14 or 15 days. And peak season, I'm assuming that's Christmas, New Year's, and I don't know what else the peak could be, but peak season, 10 days. That's it. But yeah, thank you. Exactly, it varies depending on which city, state, country you're in. And that's outside the peak season. So you're strapped. Damn. Wow. Yeah. So peak season is going to be 7 days probably, like a timeshare. That's crazy. And the worst part, again, I mentioned it earlier. This is things they don't tell people. See, that's the other thing that irritates me. They don't tell you, hey, okay, you're buying a condo hotel. You're going to make money. You're going to make like 8% annually, 10% annually. Well, I don't know what they're talking about. It's pre-construction. How do you know? You're not even telling me how much you're going to take. But they give you a pro forma. They give you projections. But those projections, they're not worth the paper it's written on. Because you don't know what the rental rate's going to be in 2 years or 3 years from now. Anywhere on the planet, let alone Punta Cana. So this is why I have a problem with condo hotels, because I'm locked. I don't get to charge what I want. I don't get the management company that I want. So I can get, it's not an open competition. So if they want to charge me 50%, I have no way around it. And I don't know what they're going to charge me up front. So this is all trust me, bro crap. That's what this is. So you don't want to put yourself in a situation when you're investing with the trust me, bro approach. You want to be able to find out the numbers before you buy. And this is a very interesting conversation that now that I'm thinking about it, because people, when you go on vacations, what do? You say, give me that free excursion. Give me that free credit card. Give me that free dinner. So I'll go check out your vacation club or your timeshare. And you go in there with the thing going, no way in hell am I going to buy one of these things. It makes zero sense. I'm going to spend 20, 30, 50, 60, 80, $100,000 for something I can only use for 1 week. And then you're going to pay annual maintenance fees. You're like, no, I just came in here for this. Next thing you know, they insult you saying you can't afford it. They start giving you all the ribbing. Don't you want your family to go to some of these cool places around the world? You can go over here. You can go there. What's your favorite place to go? You name it. They're like opening up books. Look at this. Can't you imagine your family and your friends? You get to take them here and stay in our resort. Look at what our resort looks like over here. Our sister resort. Or you can exchange. You're going to be good. You got to spend that 70 grand. That's what it's like. That's what a condo hotel is like to me. Because you don't own any person, you don't have no say in anything. HOA is going up 3% a year. How would you know any of this, right? You guys don't know all of this unless you study. You can Google, luckily, these days. You can Google what's the problem with condo hotels, or pros and cons of condo hotel, or what's so good about condo hotel. You can Google it and you'll see what people say. And then you don't want to go by the developers. You want to go by the actual people. And of course, there's people that will have they'll be on Reddit or Quorum or some other Facebook. It all pops up. You'll see it where people are actually talking. I own a condo hotel, and here's what I got to do. This is what I had to pay. I can't even stay there. They charge me. That's crazy. And then here's the thing. What if I wish I had a few more people. We'll talk about this on Friday, because I want to know, what is your investment strategies out here? Because your research shows that you're going to make anywhere from, well, let's just call it money coming out of your pocket to maybe 6 or 7%. So who would think, or who does think 6 or 7%, well, 0 to 6.7, 6 or 7% is a good return? But I'm going to remind you of something. You don't know what the return is going to be year after year. That's the unknown. There's no way to know. Our occupancy rate this year is 70%. There's no way to guarantee that it's going to be 70% again. What if it drops 50% because a new project moved 2 doors down, or something else came nearby that's hot that people want to stay? They want to stay in that location. So you have less occupancy. Now all of a sudden that 6 or 7% is down to 3 or 4%. Do you really want to take these chances when you know you could do a stock market investment, which is why another reason I think the stock market is going to be a bull run, because you don't have any other place to go that you can somewhat safely be liquid and earn 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15% return on your money. See, that's the thing. Every other investment requires you to trust me, bro. Here, I'm going to give you money because we're going to do a startup. Well, startup may fail. Or you may say, hey, I want to buy this pre-construction, for instance. And then the pre-construction people say, well, We were going to build it in 2 years, but it's going to take us 3 years. And oh, by the way, the price went up an extra 10% because you didn't have a clause. The material cost went up 20%. We're going to cover 5 to 10% of it, but you got to cover the other 10 to 15% of it. So that went up. So again, these are the little factors that come into play. So all of this is coming to a head. And so now the safest place, where is it? It's a brokerage account that gives you a return on your investment every month. At least that's the way I see it, which also means that's going to be a bull run market. I just made the video. I mentioned it, the Florida video today about the Florida condos. I started that series, the part 1, part 2. I might even be doing a part 3. But here's the thing. Though there are people who are bailing all over the country, Florida I'm only concentrating on because that's a big, huge market. We're talking about there's like 100. Let's put it this way. They have a 30-year certification in some locations to certify buildings. Otherwise, they got to shut them down if they don't, they're not going to be qualified to stay open. But salt water, humidity, rain, cement, rebar, and other materials, they are not designed to last 100 years. The buildings are already 30, 40 years old. There's been deterioration already, and they haven't done the maintenance. No sealing, no anything. And I don't mean a ceiling like in the roof. I mean sealants. None of that. No inspections. So there's deterioration over 30 years with cement, concrete. Let's get real, in a humidity location with rain and heat fluctuations. Humidity fluctuations and heat fluctuations and rain. Recipes. So it's not going to be like you can make a brick building that's going to last 100 years. The odds of that occurring with no maintenance in Florida is slim to none. Same as it, just like if it was in the Midwest. Slim to none, because you have expand and contraction, because you in the summertime it might be 95, but in the wintertime it's 16 degrees. So you have contraction and expansion. So therefore you're going to have cracks. So again, that's not going to last no 100 years either. You're going to have to do something. And then it's somewhere between 10, well, forget that, 0 to 30, you better be doing maintenance. Because otherwise, you're going to be just like in Florida right now, 30-year-old projects, 40-year-old projects that's going to cost millions of dollars to repair. And now you're going to have a loss of money. But now let's get to the best case scenarios. There's people right now that should probably be thinking about ejecting out of the Florida scenario, especially if your building's 20, 25 years old. With none of these special assessments, you should be thinking about, hey, I better sell this while I can get a decent price. Take that money and then put yourself into the stock market play. Because if you can get 10% JEPI, JEPQ, let's just keep it simple. That's JP Morgan ETFs. You're going to be around 9%, 9.5 to 10.5%, depending on what their stock price is. They would give you dividends. So 10%, if that's what it is, it could be right now. 10%, that's good. Safe, safe generally. JP Morgan, Fed Bank, pretty much safe. Or you can do other things like I'm recommending. Do your own research, real estate investment trust. And there's a reason, because they're going to refinance their loans. So once they refinance their loans, because I'm expecting the interest rates for them to go down to probably 2% that you don't know nothing about. They'll have interest only loans at 2% for 15 years. So they're going to be like having more profits. So if they're already giving us 14, 15, 16%, and you can lock that in right now before their stock price rises, then you'll have the best of both worlds. You'll have 14% return on any money you put in now. And then the reinvestment of the dividends automatically means you don't even really have to put any more money in. It'll just keep building on its own. Or you can. But the point I'm trying to make is you can set yourself up you sell your units, you move to some other location. I don't know where that's going to be, but you can have a few $100,000, and then from that point on, you're just rolling. And if you ever want to take something out monthly, then you have the funds coming out instead of reinvesting. But at 14, 15, 16%, and okay, ARR, ORC, that should be somewhere 13 to 16, 17%. PSEC, P is in Paul, S is in Sam, E is in Eric, C is in Charles, right? Those are the ones that you should go check out. If you want 13, 14, 15% returns, real estate investment trust, AGNC, which might be 12.5 to 13%. All right. A is in Apple, G is in George, N is in Nancy, C is in Charles. Now, if you want to get crazy and take high risk, high rewards, then, you know, you got to do your own research with the IEP, the IVR. So IEP, I is in India, E is in Eric, P is in Paul, IVR, I is in India, V is in Victor, R as in Robert. Now you're going to do high risk, high rewards, but you're on your own. Investing is on your own. The other thing is you can go high risk completely with options trading strategy by Yield Max ETFs. And I'm not going to go to the Yield Max ETF screen because every time I do, all of a sudden the YouTube guys want to shut us down. Why? Because there's people getting 25%, 30%, 40%, 50% returns on their money or more. It's high risk, though. Keep that in mind. If somebody's going to give you, if your stock price is $20 and somebody's going to give you $10 in dividends over the course of the year, 50%, you best believe that's high risk. You need to go study and see what they're doing. And when they say something like 75, 80%, yes, there is some that's 75, 80% as well. They're working on a whole different paradigm. There's a paradigm shift because after they came out about almost 2 years now ago, other companies started doing that same thing along with Defiance, FEPI, right? IWMY. All these companies started doing something similar to them. And now YieldMaxETFs.com, they even have something called a short. So you can short like NVIDIA or Tesla or something in their ETFs. And I don't even know what that's about. I looked at it a little bit and all I saw was it said something like, we do not buy the underlying asset. And I was like, okay, so then how are you shorting? Well, what they're doing is, since they do options trading, that would indicate they're doing shorts. They're shorting the stock on the options market. So every time somebody pays it off, then that's what they're sharing some of that profit with the stock shareholders. So that's what we're talking about. Do your own research here. Don't just believe what I'm saying. Go look it up yourself. All right? It's that simple. And oh, if you want to stay even more like, you know, basically safe, then go with standard ETFs by the Vanguard group. I love Vanguard, right? VOO. Okay, Victor Moreau, I beat you. VOO, SCHD. And he always says IWMY. Oh, I'm missing one now. There's another one I'm missing. FEPI, but I'm missing one. Okay, so I'll just throw mine in. VOOG. Then I'll throw in the Vanguard Technology, VTI. I don't think it's performing as well as SHI. No, that's not it. SMH. There's too many in my head. So I think that's it. Yeah, SMH. That's the chips, by the way. Chips, 2 year. Thank you, Victor Moreau from last week. 2 years, 26% a year. Oh, see, I didn't get them all. Wait, he got me my SMH though. All right, Q. Oh, I always forget the QQQ. That's what it is, and the SPY, because I don't invest in those myself. I always forget those. And VOOG, he's got them listed, ladies. That's CHD as well. Oh, he's got that. All right. So yeah, I do the Victor Morrell. Then we got the FEPI as well, the Brian P. So VTI, VOOG, exactly. Do your own research because VTI, it seems to underperform for some reason. I don't understand because that's the technology. It doesn't make much sense, but it is what it is. You have to be patient with investing. You have to take time. You're not going to win a lot of money short term. You have to think years in advance. Let it build up. Let it work for you, not you working for it like you go to a job. You're just going to use whatever extra disposable money you have. You're going to put it in there. And don't forget, when you have extra money, put it in a duffel bag of cash too. Putting it in a bank is going to be high risk. All right. I'm just saying where America is right now, I'd be very careful about leaving money sitting around in banks. That's all I'm going to say. How much interest you're going to earn? 5% maybe. Speaking of that, Wealthfront, you can get 5% interest on Wealthfront, 5% interest. Oh, if you've got, well, there's several things. We actually talked about Fidelity. If you have Robinhood, you can get 5% plus cash back. But see, Robinhood, Fidelity, those are brokerage accounts. A lot of people don't realize brokerage accounts and bank accounts are two separate things. Both have insurance, and they're not both FDIC insured. Banks, FDIC insured. Brokerage accounts are different. SIPC. So those are the things that you have to remember. Brokerage. So I'll give you an example. A bank in Georgia, they went out of business. What did they do? They gave the regular checking, savings, whatever accounts to some other bank. The brokerage account, they held it up. You can't withdraw, but it's just like the shares of stock, and whatever you have in your brokerage account is making money. So you're making money, but they're holding it because they haven't separated it, but they haven't released it back to us. So those are the type of things that happen with the banking system that people don't know about because it doesn't happen often in this type of situation. But make no mistake about it. No mistake. I was watching a YouTube channel. It pops up every now and then. Another financial channel popped up. And I believe the question when it came up was, do you trust banks, or would you leave your money in B of A? I was just like, I had to type in. I'm like, hey, man, I'm sorry. B of A and Wells Fargo in the 80s were stealing money from me. We didn't have social media, so people didn't believe it. Now that there's social media, there's people all over the place saying they stole my money. This has been a thing for a long time. Not that it's a widespread thing. It's just that there's people doing stuff with accounts. I don't know what it is, but they'll claim, no, it didn't happen. I mean, never mind. I won't get into it. It got me upset. Now that I'm thinking about it, it gets me riled up because I almost got arrested at the bank when that happened to me. U.S. Bank, same thing. So I told them all three, U.S. banks off limits, B of A, and Wells Fargo off limits. I won't be banking at none of those. All three stole money. So I'm like, forget that. And it was not during the pandemic either, because it happened in the 80s. So, and then U.S. Bank happened in the 90s. And Washington Mutual, depending on where your accounts were, you could have lost money for that too. I took all my money out of Washington Mutual about a week or two before their collapse because they were acting weird when I went in. Like starting a month before this collapse, they started restricting stuff on my accounts. And I was just like, why are you guys acting weird? I send and receive 15K, 10K I'm like, what's the problem here? What do you mean there's a hold on my account for a week? What do you mean? It was all weird stuff. So I said, you know what? Just give me all my money. Oh, that'll be come back in like 5 days. Crazy stuff. So I said, okay, this is something's weird. Let me withdraw my money. And then like a week or two later, all of a sudden I heard Washington Mutual merging or whatever they did. It was crazy. So that debacle I got out, not really out of, but I'm just saying, ever since the 80s, I never leave money in a bank. Let's just put it that way. I'll rather go negative and pay the freaking $30 or free overage than leave thousands of dollars in the bank. So I've had just so you guys know, in case this is going to come up, so I might as well talk about it because that's what we do here. FOMO, investors, you do your research, you have to live every day. So just think about some things you own. Let's just say you own a business, you own real estate, you own land, you own a lot of stuff, right? So something could fall through the cracks. Plus, if you're gone for 3 weeks at a time, 2 weeks at a time, you're never at your house, but once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever, out having fun, there's things that you miss. You're like, damn, I didn't file my franchise tax board at a certain date. Like in California, they don't call it franchise tax board anymore. I don't have a corporation there, but it's July 1st through June 30th. That's your reporting. That's the time you have to report the following year. So you have to report in the month of July. So what, in my case, I forgot to report, right? So now I owe, I don't remember the number. It was thousands. I owe thousands of dollars. Next thing I know, I go to my bank. And and everybody knows this. You generally pay your mortgages like the first, well, first through the 15th, first through the 10th, whatever. So I'm going to get money at the bank to pay my mortgage. It's like the second of the first or second. I go to the bank. I say I need like whatever it was. I can't remember whatever the number was. The lady looks at me. The teller says, I'm sorry, you can't do that. And of course, you're going to do what everybody says. What do you mean? I have X amount of dollars in here. I have enough to cover. What are you talking about? Oh, you have something from franchise tax board that has a lien on your account for the next X amount of days. I said, wait. What are you saying? She said some number like, let's just say it was 10 grand. She said some crazy number, thousands. And so I was like, what's this? And then I was like, oh, she goes, you go talk to these people. And so here's a little story that people don't realize. They put a hold on your account. Like in this case, I don't know if they still do it, but they put a hold on your account so you can go talk to them or they take the money. So in this case, I called up. I was like, what do you mean I owe you this money? They're like, oh, you didn't file. We attached your account because this is how much we think you're going to earn based on your previous filings. I was like, are you serious right now? She's like, yes. I said, but you guys know I paid my previous filings. I just forgot. So you know what they did? I could not believe the words coming out of her mouth. She goes, okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to release X amount that you're not going to have to pay. Make sure you come down here and file. But I think it was the other order. I think I had to go file and then I'll release it. And then I'll keep whatever the filing. And so she released like half of it. And I was like, cool. So she sent a paper over to the bank. And about 2 days later, the bank released half of it. I went down also in subsequent time and filed. And then it was like another 2,000 something she owed me. But they released it. So that's when I learned. I was like, oh, so these whole things or whatever, you can negotiate, do whatever. So that's another way that the government can always seize your money. Not saying it's a bad thing. I did owe the money, but all I'm saying is I didn't owe 10 grand or whatever it was. I don't think it was 10 grand, but still it was above 5. So that's what I'm thinking. That most people don't realize there's all kind of things that can happen when you least expect it, especially if you're a very busy person. Now, if you're a person that can meticulously, now we didn't have the situations like now, put in the calendar on my phone so it's always with me. All these things we have now would alleviate a lot of problems. So now you know, you have a memory, you have a message on your phone saying, hey, it's June 1st. Calendar says, oh, you got to file. That's how it works. So just keep all this in mind. So when you're doing your research, you have to do research on a lot of different things. So let me know what you guys think. I know there's only a few people that can be in the chat room. If you can't get in the chat room, there's a reason. Only members with the icon can be in the chat room. If you like coffee and tea, it's going to get chilly out here starting next month in some regions of the United States and beyond. Make sure you get your beachfront Java coffee from our own Professor Auntie Val. You see it on the screen. Coffee or tea and whole beans, premium beans, Indonesia, South America, Central America, and African beans, the best beans in the world. That's what's used. Ziploc bags, so it's always fresh. Half-pound bags up to 5-pound bags. But you need that promo code, SSN Lifestyle, all caps. So that way you get a discount after your first order for life. Free shipping in the United States, but our own Professor Auntie Val and family owns it. So that's why we got to show some love. And if you like tea, because some of you right now are like, I don't like coffee. Neither do I, unless it has hot chocolate in it. I mean, I can live with it, but I want hot chocolate in mine. Let's just say it that way. So what do? You go get tea from our own Professor Auntie Val. And coffee's not just any coffee. The coffees are like a connoisseur coffee, different flavored coffee. Oh, yes. Your own Starbucks at the house with premium blended beans, better than Starbucks. All right. That reminds me, I did not write down the story I'm going to tell you on Friday. I can't even remember what it was. I know it was about some poker, though. I can't remember, but I just remember the Starbucks story that I have to tell you guys that I'm pretty sure I told before. But yeah, I didn't even write it down. I forgot all about it. I was going to talk about it every Friday now. I have a story for the next 2 years. All right. So hold on a second. If I don't remember over the next 2 days what that story was, then I will do the Starbucks story. All right. So before I became a poker player, I actually was a Dish Network dealer. Yeah, I know. Pretty wild. This is how wild it was. Now it's on the other side, downside. But at the time, can you imagine having a dish that's an 18-inch dish, roughly? And people were like, ha, 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 that will never work. Because everybody had those 10, 12-foot monsters sitting in their yards, whoever wanted that satellite and move around. It was funny as hell trying to sell those at the beginning. And then at the time, this may seem cheap, but at the time you had, you could have a cable package, $86, $89. $99 was about, you had everything. Dish Network was like $25. The only thing you didn't have is the local TV networks, and you didn't have sports. So for like $23 or $25, you had everything on satellite with a better picture. That's right, better picture. So now you had you have your plasmas. At the time, the plasmas was the thing. Most people had plasmas. LEDs weren't even out. But anyhow, I'll tell that story if I don't remember the other story. So I'll write this one down because I didn't write it down the other day. The other one I have to remember because we were talking about poker, but I probably won't remember that one. But anyhow, I'll remember Starbucks. All right, let's go. What else we got going on here? Do you know if anyone that invested in DR from the SSN Nation has closed? Yes, I do. But Nadine's not here. I think she closed. And I know another person, Casey, she closed. But here's the weird thing. All right. This coming year, 2025, will be significant for many of us. Yes, we will have to think taxes for 2026. Exactly. Which is for 2025. Exactly. Yeah. But here's what's KCN, it happened. This happens a lot in the DR apparently too. So she has delivery. I don't even know how this works. She had delivery allegedly. Let's just put the reason I use allegedly is yes, she has the keys. She has delivery. But the point is the builder developer doesn't have the title. So they take some okay, first of all, it takes 3 to 6 months to transfer a clean title in the DR. So just because somebody says, okay, we finished your unit and it's ready January 1st, the title won't be ready till July, probably, more than likely. So that means I don't know how she financed it. I'm still baffled because if you don't have title, you can't finance it. But I think either she never returned my email, so I don't know. But this is one of the problems that is going to come up. A lot of these projects do not have title transferred to you. Why is that? One of the dirty little secrets. A lot of these developers are on a rent to own program with the land. So now you understand if the land's not paid for, or let's say it is paid for, you could be doing a double closing. So now 3 to 6 months could be 6 months to a year. So this is the little nuances that happen. And just like at the beach, Victor Moreau's familiar with the beach. Mr. Cool's probably familiar with the beach as well because they both are investors in Punta Cana. They have people living at Vista Cana with no title. So it's a thing. And it's not just the beach. I shouldn't pick on them, but there's other projects that people have taken delivery, stay in the unit, have an HOA. I mean, I got a lot to talk about. I should make a video about this because there's crazy going on. That can be a great source of info, the do's and don'ts. Exactly. Because there's a project right now where not only did it's a villa project, but the girl didn't say where it was. But anyhow, it's in Punta Cana, and she got delivery of her unit. Again, no title, but she lives in the unit, pays the HOA. She just got a message from the head of HOA saying, now remember, their dues were $100 per month. All right. And the phases are not finished. So she's living in a construction zone in essence. So she just got a letter and it says $300 per month. Increase, new management. So now the owners are like, wait, we have contracts that say it would be $100. We did not approve this new property management company, let alone who's running this and they're not running it. The HOA, the owners are not running it. So you know what that means. Litigious Dominican Republic lawsuits or lawyers are going to be involved, shall I say. That means extra money out of your pockets. Even if all the owners band together, that's extra money out of your pockets. So these are the type of things that you cannot adjust your investments for. That's the only problem. So that's why now you have to say, okay, I'm taking a risk, but how much of a risk do I want to take on any investment? That's why now the stock market, I feel, is going to have a bull run, because older people who are retired, such as in Florida, again, I'm going to bust out a video. Part 2 is going to have this information. There are 142,000 condos in the age range of 20 years to 30 years. The certification law is 30 years for a lot of these complexes. So anybody whose complex is 28, 29 years old, in 1 or 2 years, you're going to have a special assessment. And it ain't pretty out here. It's 50. Well, I haven't even seen anybody with 50 grand. All I keep seeing is it's 100 grand. It's 225 grand per owner. That's how crazy this is, because they neglected it for 30 years. And then when they have to, remember, when you have to excavate, when you have to have an inspection, you have to pay people. They're crawling underneath buildings. You think they're only going to charge you like 5 grand or 10 grand? No. They're going to charge you hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on how big your complex is. They have to dig up. They have to get to the footings. They have to get a visual. They have to test. They don't just get to do an x-ray scan and call it good. That costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars, which who's going to pay for it? You, as the condominium owner, are going to be split amongst you 60, 100 people. Imagine $150,000 bill and 100 people. Okay, you got to pay $1,500 this month. All of you. And that's not even over yet. Now they come back and say, well, that's going to be about $2.5 million to repair this. 100 owners divided by 2.5 million. So some of you would go, okay, I'll pay the 25 grand. But what if they come back with 5 million or 10, which is a likely possibility, because you have to do the foundations. You're going to have to put in new rebar, new concrete. Hey, it's going to be costly. So all I'm saying is these are the type of things that you have to be leery of going forward. And this also goes with the people that are investing in in Dominican Republic or any island in a humidity location or anywhere. The places that use concrete and rebar, you need to understand the lifespan, because I know there's a lot of people right now that's going to the islands, all different kind, and they're buying homes that are 10, 15 years old, condos or homes. And you need to really realize the questions you should be asking. How long has this been here? That's research. How long? When was this built? If somebody says it was built in 2020, 1990, and you're in a high humidity, salt water, high rain location, hot, humid, there's going to be corrosion. And so therefore, you might not want to buy that place that's 25 or 30 years old, because I don't know if they're going to certify or do maintenance for the last 30 years. You got records? Unless the HOA comes out and says, hey, here's our inspection every year, or here's our maintenance every year. If I don't see that for like the last 25 years and it's all paid for and everything's been done, you can forget about even thinking about buying there, because you're going to have problems. And you can walk around buildings. You can see cracks. You can start seeing deterioration at around the 20-year mark. Let's just put it that way, 25, 30-year mark. So if somebody says in that 2020 it was built, That's fine and all. It might look nice because it's paint covered or whatever, but rest assured, if you're in a almost any location on the planet, there's deterioration 20, 25 years. Even if it's cement, even if it's brick, no matter, even if it's stucco. None of this lasts forever. Just keep that in mind. Your foundation, your slab foundation cement doesn't last forever. 10 years ceiling. That's it. 10 years. So you want to keep your water away from your foundation. Again, that's one of my pet peeves that I've talked about before since I'm talking about real estate. That can be a great source of info for the yeah. So again, I've said this many times. We might have new people here. If you can't get in the chat room, just make sure that you become a member of the channel. Like Victor Marrero, he has an icon. Laverne Penix, Mr. Cool, has an icon. That's the only people that can be in the chat room on Wednesday nights. Everybody else, you can watch and listen. And on Friday night at 9, 10 p.m., join us. But one of my pet peeves that I cannot stand to this day, I go to the DR. And I have no problem with the DR, but this is the way they build is just interesting to me, because even in California, where we don't have much rain, but it does rain in Northern California more than it does in Southern California. But the point is, it always bugs me when I go by my house. I look at drainage. So I always want a house that's a little higher on the street. I don't mind a little slope of my driveway. This is just the way I like it. I want it to be a little elevated, just a little, not a lot, than normal. I don't want it flat, straight line with the street, because if it floods, then my house gets flooded. I want 2-3 feet at least higher. And I walk around the edge of the house to look for the little strips that's only about 2 or 3 inches wide. And so when the water comes off your roof or the water comes off your sidewalks or whatever, there's automatic drainage. So it never goes into my foundation or underneath the dirt. So that way it always just drains out to the sewer. Make sure the house is built like that, not something I built after the fact. So I won't buy a house if it doesn't have that. That's automatically, to me, a no-go zone. Because once you understand that cement doesn't last forever, no matter which environment you're in, because you don't know the mix of the cement. So what will end up happening is, at the usual things could happen at around the 15 to 20 year mark. Remember, quality matters. So if you buy a cheap home, you can rest assured they're probably using the cheaper rebar. They're probably using the cheaper cement mix. They're probably using the cheaper, all kind of different things to make it look nice. But after 10 or 15 years goes by, all of a sudden you start having problems that's going to cost you thousands of dollars to fix. So this is why I suggest custom, semi-custom is better that way. So then you get exactly what you deserve: higher quality materials, longer lasting materials. And so then and it's built right. And quite frankly, you have to make sure it's built right. You have to ask questions. You need to know the answers. What kind of siding is this? What stucco? Or you have to ask. You have to look. You have to know what to look for. Drainage is a problem, especially if you're in an area that rains a lot. Because I'll give you a perfect example. You know, when you're whoever sees on TV, Florida, and they have these sinkholes. Do you know how do you think sinkholes manifest themselves? A lot of people might be going, well, it's because, the water depth is only 20 feet or whatever. But that's not exactly how it works. They have homes, even to this day, grandma's house is like this. You're built a slab, and then dirt is all around it. No drainage whatsoever, right? So when it rains, comes down from the roof, the water's dropping straight down from the roof or comes off to the gutters, however you designed it. It goes into the ground. What if the sand dissolves? because water, it'll go to the path of least resistance. So now what starts happening is you're building up potentially a little opening underneath. And then the next thing you know, it's 30 years later, and it all started from 30 years ago. Just a little expansion, dissolving of sand, another little dissolving of sand. Next thing you know, you see a crack in your wall, but you don't pay no attention to it. You're just like, it's a brick house. It's all good. But in reality, there could be something going on underneath your house or on the corner of your house, and you don't even know it because you just don't have the drainage because the house has been sitting there for 30, 40 years. You don't even care. It's been here for 30, 40 years. What could possibly go wrong? Well, you don't know what's underneath. And that's why it's always my pet peeve. I look at water drainage because that's one of the worst things that can mess up a home, mess up a foundation, mess up everything. If it leaks in your house and a roof leak, all of a sudden, and you have one floor or two, you have leaks running all through your house. So now you have to worry about your roofs. That's why the insurance companies in Florida, some of them said you need, hey, your house is 10 years old. You need to get a new roof. Hey, your house is 15 years old. You need to get a new roof. Hey, your house is 20 years old. We can't insure you. Get a new roof. That's why. Because they know they're not supposed to last 50 years. Not even 30 in reality, in a lot of cases. So the cheaper the house, they're going to use cheaper shingles. So therefore, you're going to have the 20 to 30-year shingles. So you know you're going to have a problem in 20 years, and the house is already 10 years old when you bought it. So you got somewhere between now when you bought it and the next 15 years that there's going to be a failure somewhere. And you're hoping it's 15 years from now versus now. But the problem with that is 15 years from now, it's going to cost more to fix the roof than it does now. Something you don't even know about. It's not needing fixing right now. But unfortunately, it's 10 years later when the price is double. So this is what you have to think about as an investor. So I'm looking at it like buying a home is like you're an investor, right? Just like buying stocks, buying real estate, buying a business, you have to look at all the factors true to yourself. Don't listen to other people. Don't listen to the realtors. Don't listen to the previous owner. Don't listen to none of that. You have to stay on point. You have to stay on business point. You need to ask for records. Don't let them hem and haw you. That's the worst thing you can do. I'm going to tell you right now. You guys look at the early videos where my last home was, which is like 4 or 5 years back videos. And there's another house that we were going to buy that was in a place called Natomas in Sacramento. It's called Westlake. It's right by the airport, which I didn't mind. And because the house was on the lake. All right. And Arco Arena was less than 2 miles away for the Kings games. It's perfect location. Downtown, some of my favorite eating places less than 2 miles away. And then, of course, there's shopping center and everything like Cali does. You know, as soon as you come out your complex, less than a quarter mile away, there's a shopping center so you can do whatever. But it's on the lake. It's beautiful. The price is right. And I wouldn't have bought the other house that I moved into, but because I didn't know about it. And the only reason I knew about it is because of this house. The wife looks at it, I look at it, and we're looking at it. And out back, one of my other things is I like yards to be small. I don't like to do yard maintenance myself, nor do I want to pay people. So in Cali, no reason to have a big yard for me. I'm just like, I don't care. I just give me. And so it had a small yard, had a little pool in the back, which I don't like pools, but still it had a pool in the back. The price was like something crazy. I don't remember. It was cheap. Well, it's okay. This is a long time. This is like 10 years ago. It's, oh my God, more than 10. It's not cheap by even today's standards, but I think it was around $500,000. All right. So back then, I guess the equivalent would be I don't know. They're probably selling over there for $8 or $9 or $1 million right now. But nonetheless, so it's perfect. You sit out on the back patio when we were there, and I'm just like, all right, no sounds, no nothing. We came there at I always do a couple of things. I go at 3 in the afternoon, 3 to 4 when I find out when schools get out, so I see what the flow is. Then I go at night, like 8:30, 9 o'clock, to see what the happening in the neighborhood before I even consider what's going on. Where's the street lights? Where's the traffic flow? So I know if people are coming down my street all kind of times, if that's a third way that people use, or if in the daytime you can't really tell, right? So I make sure it's quiet, make sure see what the neighbors are doing, and so all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, let's go see this house. I love it because I was trying to make an offer on another house across the lake, but somebody beat me to it. They told us about it. We walked through, got in the car. Wife says, yeah, I love that house. I said, I like it too. We got to put an offer in. And it's like 7 at night. So we get with the realtor and we're like, yeah, man, put this offer in for tomorrow. He calls up, puts it tomorrow. He says, I'm going to submit. He calls us back that day, says it's not there, but there's one across the lake that's similar to what you have. Okay. So now it's looking beautiful. So we turn around to walk out the house from the back, and it's an open concept. And so I walk outside and I'm doing my usual checking to make sure they have my little gutters around the foundation. You know what I see on the outside of the house? The stucco has a crack. It's about 8-9 feet high, and there's a crack that's like 3 feet, and the crack is probably not more than, it's not wide, but it's a crack. So just take a pencil, let's say, and draw down. That's what it looked like. And it was like 3 feet. So I looked at it and I was like, wait, there's a crack in the stucco? The house is no more than 5 or 6 years old. So I'm automatically like, wait, what is going on? So then I see that. I do my keep walking around. The wife is kind of happy because I agree with her. The house is cool. But then I tell her, I say, hey, there's a crack outside on this corner. So now I take her around and I said, okay, there's only 2 options here. Either the stucco's messed up, highly unlikely, or the foundation's moving. So now we go back in the house, and on that same wall, they actually put paint on the wall. But because I knew where the crack was outside, I started really looking at the wall and the texture, and I was like, wait, they painted over the crack. So now I'm sitting there saying, okay, something is weird. The other realtor comes over who's for the buyer. And so that's when I hem him up. I said, hey, there's a crack outside. There's a crack in here. And come to think of it, there's something wrong. Something's moving. You know what the buyer's seller said? She says, yeah, there's a problem around here. Like I said, well, why didn't you guys say anything in the first place? She's like, comes up with an excuse like, oh, well, we have to disclose certain. I said, nobody disclosed anything, first of all. Second of all, obviously somebody would have done an inspection or should do an inspection. So they would have found it anyhow. But see, that's the little tricks. So neither my agent said anything and their agent didn't say anything. It's just that when I saw the cracks and I know what I'm looking at, all of a sudden they were like, oh, yeah, things move around. So now I go knock on the next door neighbor's house. And I'm like, hey, man, your foundation move? He's like, no, man, but you know what? 2 doors down, their foundation moved. They're working on it right now. I was like, oh, my God. So this isn't even, they didn't even build these right. So that's why did not buy there. So that's why you have to do your own research. That's what this is about. Investors, you got to do your own research, whether it's for you or it's an investment, whatever it is, you're investing, you do your own research. Don't go buy anything else. All right. Paul Castillo's in the house. Another investor is here. Welcome to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream with that icon I humbly appreciate. And Paul Castillo, we were just talking about Punta Cana. I just gave another story that I should have waited till Friday night. But nonetheless, it's a good story for investors. You have to know what you're looking for. You don't let somebody else not tell you information. You go find it is the point of why I told you this. Because most people, this was a place that was popular on the water, on the lake, have your own dock, everything. The lake is less than literally 20 feet. You're in the water, your own dock and everything. Fountain in the middle of the lake. It was crazy. You couldn't have power. You could only have paddle, but nonetheless, wind, paddle, things like that. Paul Castillo says, good evening, SSN family. I'm sorry I tuned in late, but I was packing for my Jersey flight tomorrow. Where you going in Jersey, man? What's happening? You're a Jersey kid too? What's going down? You hang out in Jersey? Where Jersey? All right. That's very interesting. But yeah, there's other people. There was other people checking this house out throughout the day. I mean, it was very popular because of the location, the Westlake and all that. And that house I haven't even looked, but it's probably $1 million right now. But there was a foundation problem and they weren't going to say nothing. And as it turned out, here's the funny part. The tilt was on that corner of the building. So the rest of the foundation, they already knew, somebody else apparently checked it out, was all good, but that section was going to move. So that's how crazy it was. That's how close it was. In Margaritaville, they built French drainage points in the ground, especially since there's no grass. We have sand to keep up with the theme. HOA replaces the sand often to keep it nice and clean. Exactly. That's it, Victor Morrell. See, and again, you guys know what Margaritaville, upscale luxury. It's on that verge. This is why I tell people, if you're going to buy something, it's more worth it to just buy upscale luxury because you're going to have the semi-custom or the custom build, and you're going to have a better quality of builds. And you're paying for the extra. So you don't have issues down the line. And you understand your maintenance and upkeep and what it's going to take to stay that way. So then that way you can have a longer lasting maintenance-free situation because you're doing maintenance a little bit at a time versus waiting 10 years later. And all of a sudden your drain is full. All of a sudden you did not have the drain. All of a sudden your foundations are moving and you have multiple buildings. And the next thing you know, you're in the situation with these other guys. $200,000 for repairs for something you didn't have to do by putting in $25,000 to $50,000 worth of drains one time. That'll last for like 20 years before you even have to think of, maybe even longer, that you even have to think about replacing that. So those are the bargains and the differences that you have to think about when you're investing into something. This is why the guys at Larimar, I was asking them how they're going to actually build on the volcanic rock. And then the question ultimately has to be, what are you using to build 17 floors? That's the question. And then what's going to be the cement mix? What rebar are you going to be using? These are very important questions for a 17-story, 18-story building. So you need to know. And this is why in the video I dropped earlier, I said, if you're going to be in DR and you have a 4 or 5-story building and it was built in 2020, the thing is 4 years old. And here it is 2030 when it's 10 years old. You don't know the materials or anything. But I'm going to tell you this. If you bought something in 2020, and I'll use Victor Morel's. That's easier because I know the numbers. 230,000 for a 2-bedroom condo. And in 2030, I can sell that for $1 million. Now I start in my head, my clock is ticking. I'm going, do I know how they built this thing? Because the last thing I want is for these guys to come to me at year 15 talking about, hey guys, we got to do some structural stuff. And everybody in the building, you got to pay 75 grand each or 150 grand each. And that's a problem. So there comes a time when you have to say, okay, is it 10 years? Is it 15 years? Or is it 20? But trying to do this just blindly going, okay, this will last 50 years because the cement, the rebar, when you build, they say they last 50 to 100 years. We'll see how that's working in Florida right now and in other places as well. But Florida is the main topic because that's they have so many units, condo units. There's units in Florida that's 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, built with cement, rebar, and all that, repair issues. So I'm not thinking I'm going to an island and the same rules don't apply in the same type of humidity. Actually, DR has even heavier humidity than even Florida. But that's another story. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is you don't know when it gets to this 15-year mark, you don't really know from that time on if it's a ticking time bomb of just 5 years or a ticking time bomb of 20 years. You don't know. So that's my point I'm trying to make if we're dealing with concrete rebar type buildings. All right. But that's what I like to hear, Victor Marrero, because that's what they should do. And that's why they did do it, because they're upscale luxury at Margaritaville. They charge people a lot. And the same rules apply. Did you ever get the number that you need for your Ethan Allen order you got to do? Did they give it to you yet? Because it was 30 grand, 2018, I think. Here it is, 2020. In fact, they're overdue, kind of. They're 6 years. Yeah, 5 to 7 years is when you replace your furniture when you have high occupancy rates. That's generally the rule. I'm just letting you guys know. So everybody who's thinking about a condo hotel, if they actually end up having high occupancy rates, starting 5 years to 7 years, you're going to be replacing your furnishings. And I just don't mean beds. All right. We're talking the whole thing: sofa, sleepers, dining room tables, bedroom sets, nightstands, dressers, TVs. I'm just saying, how much is that package going to cost? Well, I'm waiting. Victor Morel might have his, but that package, it could be, it was 40 some thousand before. Let's round up to 50 in 5 or 6 years ago. I don't see how it's going to be 50 this time. I think it's going to be like, I think it's going to be like 70 grand, 75 grand, because they use Ethan Allen, which is one of the best quality. And I got to say other things. I mean, I'm not mad at Ethan Allen. I just don't really, that's not the furniture for me. I like custom furniture. But with custom furniture, I have to do exactly what Ethan Allen's going to do. They're going to put guards. Traditionally, if you have cloth, they'll Scotch guard it. If you have leathers or anything else, they'll put guards on there for the wear and tear, for water, stains, anything else. They're not just going to get the furniture and just put it in there, because you have high turnover. So you need some, to make it more durable, you have to pay the extra money and put guards on. But Ethan Allen is great quality if they're using Ethan Allen again. So we'll see. All right, here we go. Victor Morel says a lot of brand new homes here in Florida will show those small cracks on the stucco. It's very normal for the house to settle down years after, and it doesn't mean a big problem with foundation. No, does not. That is very true. But in the case I'm giving you is, you need to double check. That's why you have an inspection. In my case, they actually admitted it after I brought it up, but the guy showing me the house never said nothing about it. So we were probably going to put in an offer. So it was like, after I talked about it and went to the next door neighbor too and started asking, like, hey man, did your house move? And they're like, no. And then he said that the other house down there, and they said other people have issues too. That's when I was like, oh, hold on, I ain't joining this issue party. So that's the only reason I say check and make sure, but your inspection is going to check as well. Yeah. And he's right. Sometimes depends on the stucco, the way it dries up and stuff. There could be cracks in the stuff, but the key on mine, I'll reiterate, the crack on the outside was also a crack on the inside. That was the whole kicker. It was on both sides. So that's a clear sign that it's not just stucco. It was in the building, in the wall. So that's how we knew that. Well, it's a clear sign. Everybody would know. If I see a crack outside and I come in the house and I see an exact crack in the wall, we got issues. And then, of course, they had to admit, yeah, there's a problem. This corner over here is moving. And I said, clearly, clearly it's moving. But yeah, it is normal. So don't get crazy, but that's why you have inspections. I grew up in Bergen County, Jersey, going there to spend time with the family. Give me a city. Paul Castillo, what city is that? Or nearest biggest city. My mom bought a house in DR 15 years back, and they built it with cheap materials. There we go. Paul Castillo. See, this is what I'm saying. Right now, the house has a lot of cracks and foundation problems. Yep. Hopefully, they don't build the same way in Punta Cana. See, that's just it. You don't know Paul Castillo. That's what I'm trying to say. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. So, for instance, you own it, Cruise on Land. I don't know if you're in contact with anybody at Cruise on Land, but you might want to start asking, what's happening with the cement mix? What's the mix going on here? So then you can actually look it up. You can start quantifying how long is this cement supposed to last normally. And so this is a perfect example what I'm talking about right here. This is 2005. I don't know how old the house is actually that he's talking about for his mom, but if the house is 5 to 10 years old, it's right on par. You're going to be at 20 to 25 years repairs for this type of build. We're talking in Cali, they use wood, so that's a whole different situation. In the South, where there's hurricanes and things like that, tend to build with concrete and bricks or blocks. So that is a perfect example, Paul Castillo. Thank you for sharing that, because people think sometimes they're like, man, this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm trying to tell you, this is why I made the Buying a Home 4-part series based on materials. So then this is for this perfect example right here. When his mom, if she knew this, when she bought her house, she would have said, how old is this house? If the house was 10 years old when she bought it, now it's 25. Now we know over that time from 10 to 25, things are going to start deteriorating, and there's going to have to be some maintenance and upkeep. Who are you going to call? So no maintenance, no upkeep for 25 years. So what he's describing is they not only built with cheap materials that's not even supposed to last but 20 to 30 years. Now it's already past the 20-year cycle possibly. So obviously there's going to be deterioration at that point on. So now I have to consider, which, I mean, it's hard for people to move, but all I'm trying to say is I might have to move because somebody's going to have to pay for this eventually. So, yeah. And don't hopefully nothing. Paul Castillo, okay, look, you own it, Cruise on Land. You own it, Larimar. Larimar, they haven't officially gave me a refund nor kicked me out for not paying, so I don't know what the deal is. I guess it's an L or some sort they're trying to give me, or I have to go to court or something. But nonetheless, you can talk to Cruise on Land. You can ask them what type of rebar are they using. It should have a grade, should have a number, should have some something so you'll know. Is it the one that's going to have zinc in it for the high humidity and all that? Or zinc? Is it going to have the materials in there for longer lasting? Rebar. Is it 3-inch, 6-inch, half-inch, quarter-inch? What's the rebar they're using? What's the cement mix they're using? Once you know that type of thing, then you'll know what the quality of the build is. And you'll also know when you're going to sell your unit, when you're going to resell your unit. Because you're going to be like, okay, this thing is built in 2026. And so you own it for 15 years. You're going to be like, okay, I think it might be time for me to get rid of this thing because I know when they built this, it's supposed to last only like 20 years or push your luck, 17 years. But I know, or what's the maintenance schedule on the upkeep? I mean, what's the inspection schedule is going to be every 5 years? I mean, what are we talking? You need to know all that. Same rules are going to apply with Larimar. Everybody listening, there's some owners at Larimar. You should be doing the same thing. If I end up still being an owner at Larimar, I'll be doing that. I've already done it, actually, but they won't give up any info because they're not building anything right now. Let's get real. Okay. Garfield, 15 minutes away from Newark. Nope. Too far north for me. No, man. Paul Castillo, I went to Northern. I don't even know if it's the name of the school is still the same. Northern Burlington Junior Senior High School in Jersey. That's right. Not Burlington Township, not Burlington City. No, they're rivals. No, it might still be called that. I don't know. I don't go back up there, so I don't know. By Great Adventure, which was changed to Six Flags, which was changed to whatever. Near there, near Patterson, near because of McGuire and Fort Dix Air Force bases. At that time was side by side. So that's where I was hanging out. And yeah, it was treacherous being 12 years old with kids from 12 to 17, 18 years old in your school. That's pretty bad, man. You got to be a special kind of guy to be cool. Oh, man, because you're going to get picked on. Eric, about Punta Cana, to be cleared, you don't have any contracts pending except Larimar, right? Exactly. No Vista Cana or any other, right? Nope. Just ask since you're an active broker looking for the good deals. No. The only thing that I'm even contemplating, I've scaled back because of the way that all these builders have been doing people dirty. So you notice I used to talk about Punta Cana all the time, the new projects. I just find that it's unacceptable. They're doing, I mean, it's just ridiculous. People are getting notices of, just like the one I described earlier, where the lady got her unit without title. She staged there. Then now they just got, a letter from somebody saying they're going to be the new management company. The HOA fees, instead of being $100 a month, they're going to be $300 a month. I'm just like, this is all over the map. There's projects that have contracts that don't even address whether they're going to raise prices or not. And then people are getting 10, 15, 20% increase in prices, and all kind of crazy stuff is happening. So I'm almost like, I don't know, and then this condo hotel stuff started happening. I mean, like I said, Oasis Lake, when we were there, they were starting out. We went out to Cana Rock to see where it was going to be. We talked. No mention Oasis Lake was going to be a condo hotel. There was a mention with, of course, I was giving advice at the time. I was advising them when we were in the office, and the owner's development son said, hey, what would you suggest to make this project? Because should we have management or not? And I said, well, hold on. The prices say this is upscale luxury to $175,000, $195,000. Yes, fully furnished for a studio. I said, that's upscale luxury. Are you trying to do upscale luxury like I suggested? He's like, well, yeah, we want to have it upscale. Yes. I said, well, then, unfortunately, if you're going to do upscale and you're going to do a membership package, then you're going to have no choice but to manage it. But then the caveat is you get 25% off of all fees. Okay, that's what we talked about. 2 months. Well, let me see. That was May, June, July. Okay, 2 months go by. All of a sudden in July, I call him. We talk. He starts saying, hey, man, what do you think about damn, what was the name of the company? I can't remember. Anyhow, he mentioned the name of a company saying that they're going to manage it. And I was like, what? Not Marriott? Not Hilton? Not, wait, what? Not Hyatt? So whatever name he said, I was like, what the hell? I mean, I don't remember who it was. But anyhow, whoever it was on the list of do not do business with kind of thing, as far as I'm concerned. So I had voiced my opinion. I said, hell no, don't do it. They're not what I said. So what are you going to do? They do condo hotel like they're going to manage it, but then they're going to take over and they're going to. So I started explaining. So he goes, oh, okay. Then calls me about 2 weeks later, which is what I told you guys about, when he goes, Wyndham. I called up, not called, but I texted him and I said, hey, man, how come the third floor is sold out? So at that time, he says, oh, we have a fund that's going to buy all the units on the third floor. Then he waited like 3-4 days later and he says it's Wyndham. And you guys already know, me and Wyndham have no love. Not to say we have bad vibes. All I'm saying is I can't buy a Wyndham property. And it's not because it's bad vibes. It's because I entered into, they bought me off, paid me off not to do rentals at Wyndham properties. So I had to give up all of my Wyndham Avenue plazas in my deeded property in New Orleans, my deeded property in Orlando, and I had to give up my points because they have a point system. And I'm trying to think. The ones in Hawaii on Kauai, Wyndham, what was it called? Wyndham Kai, whatever, and Wyndham. There's 2 of them on the island, and I had to give up another Wyndham's. Oh, Wyndham Dolphins Cove down in Anaheim. Had to give all this stuff up with agreement that I can't do Airbnbs. So they gave me a nice check though. They said, all you have to do is give up all your stuff. We'll give you this check. And I'm like, okay, well, why could I do that? Well, it's because I had other agreements with other people that actually have points too. So I don't really need them to make reservations. So that was the beauty of the thing. But here's the thing. This is a whole nother story I should be giving on Friday nights. Here's the other thing, though. When I made that agreement and we made the agreement, there was no bad blood. But the other part of the agreement was you have to explain what you did. So I explained a little bit because my account with the points, I didn't have like 10 million points. I only had like 1 million or something. So I didn't deal with this advanced reservation rebooking. My friends did. So I just talked about the deeded stuff, which is everybody could do. And so it was just ordinary. So it was no big deal for me. I was just like, well, this is what I did. This is what we do. No biggie. They cut the check. My other friends, though, that we all did business who had 10 million points, they could have like 40 units in the Wyndham Avenue Plaza building during Mardi Gras. I've told that story, part of it before, but that right there, that's who they really wanted to stop. Then they were like, well, who else do you know? We'll cut them a check too. And then they came to me and I got all my properties for less than $500. all my points, all my properties, less than 500 bucks. So when they came to me with thousands of dollars worth of, here's a check, I was like, I've been making all this money over all these years, and you're going to give me money to leave? I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And so I could always make reservations again, even to this day. But I just have to go through some other friends of mine that still do reservations. They manage other owners' accounts. So, yeah, so I don't have anything other than Larimar. Wait, actually, I should say this. If Larimar gave me my money back, then I would probably buy something somewhere else, probably the Seven Palms. Across the street from the second man-made beach. I'd buy that, the 1-bedroom. Because the 2-bedroom penthouse is ridiculous, $249 for the same beach view. I'm not going to live there. The units are too small. So I might as well get the 1-bedroom for $130 or $145. And inside Vista Cana. I'll live with that because Vista Cana is being built. The Larimar, it definitely won't be built. The first phase won't be built next year. And I doubt if it'll be built 2 years from now either. So we're looking at a 3-year first few towers built, in my estimation, unless they're going to have a Moon Palace type crew. But even Moon Palace wasn't built in 2 years. So what can you say, right? It was built, Abinader took office 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So, and Moon Palace still isn't done yet, as far as I know. My mom bought the house new. Okay, so let's get a timeline. 15 years. Okay. Is well known in the island for projects, engineers to pocket the money and build it with cheap materials. Exactly. And it's the materials you don't see. So they get the little skinnier rebar. They don't get the one that's coated. They don't get the best mix of cement for putting inside the blocks. Then you have to go with, there's different grades of the blocks themselves, because I was going to be in the block business. So there is different grades. So did they buy the first tier, the second tier, the third? They didn't buy the third because otherwise there'd be issues faster. But they could easily go to the second tier. The second tier isn't the same as 8,000 pounds per square inch when it's cured. The second tier may only be 5,000 pounds or 4,000 pounds per square inch. So people who buy don't realize what they're buying. They just see blocks. They don't know there's different grades. So that guy says, well, I'll put this in because it meets our criteria for our budget because we charge these people, but hey, this is what we're putting in. So all that could change. And now you're hearing exactly what Paul Castillo is saying. 15 years later, it didn't go 20 to 30 years like it should. It's at 15 and they can already see cracking, already see degradation. So this is why I made those buying a home videos so people understand. They have a checklist. It's under Brookfield Residential. I have a link underneath. In fact, I'll do this. This should be to the page in case anybody's interested. This should be your guide, just a nice little guide. Let me see if I have it here. Do we have it? But if it's not, then yep, this is it. So that link in the chat room, everybody has now. You can go there and this will give you an idea, just a rough idea on how long materials last. So this is a perfect example. Paul Castillo's mom, if she had the guide 15 years ago, she would have been asking the appropriate questions. And then when the people came back and said, no, we're using, well, you don't have to tell them what you're doing. You're just going to ask them, where are you getting the blocks from? What kind of blocks are these? A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Which level is it? Where are you getting them from? You should be able to ask all these questions. You're not a developer. And so they need to give it to you. Then you need to follow up and go see, hey, this person says they're buying these type of blocks over here. Which one's the best blocks? Are these the best? If they say no, this is second tier, well, then the 20 to 30 year is out the window. It's not going to last 20 to 30 years then. If it's second tier, that means what? 15? 12? What are we talking about here? So that is the problem, that you need to understand, and that's why I actually made the videos, because we have a lot of people doing pre-construction here, and that's buying pre-construction, not just on Punta Cana or Dominican Republic Island, but around the world. So you need to understand in different levels of temperature, it does matter. All right. But bottom line is you want the best, better qualities. But how does that work? The lower the price is does not necessarily mean the less quality, but it does mean the quality of the materials are probably not going to be the best. But there is no guarantee that just because you buy something for $500,000 that those materials are going to be the best. You need to ask and find out. And quite frankly, I don't think, if I have to be honest about it, I know there's a couple of different rebars, because when I was looking into developing and doing things, I saw they were used. I wish I can remember sizes, but I never do because there's no reason. But let's just say it was a 1/4 inch wide rebar, and then there's a 3/4 inch wide. There's different ones. And there are developers who are using the smaller rebar. So for me, I think of strength. So if I'm building, I'm getting the best, the bigger one, the 3/4 or whatever it was. The cement blocks. That's why I was going to cement blocks. I'm like, which one's the best? Then I have to get these. How much are these? So that's what I'm building with. But other developers could have easily said, you know what? Give me the smaller rebar. Give me the tier 2, as I call it, tier 2 block. You wouldn't know the difference because it's still going to be cement in and on the outside covered up, cured on the outside, and you won't know the difference of what's the behind the wall. So these are reasons why I made this video, the buying the home video, and this is the reason why I started talking about materials. So again, people would understand. This works for the stock market. This works for anything that you're investing in. You need to know what is going on. If it's the stocks, then you need to know who they're selling to. Look at their quarterly reports. Find out who's buying. Listen in on the earnings calls. Or for that matter, any other updates that happen. You got to make sure you study, you pay attention. Is this the right move that you feel they're making, even though you really don't have a vote, kind of, until the shareholder meetings and you get all your buddies together and talk, other owners. So that's the kind of things that you have to think about. But yeah, I can see this, Paul Castillo. This is what bothered me also when I started realizing, even though I love all these projects and the way they look, I started thinking, I was like, wait a minute. First, I'm having these condo hotels come out of the woodworks. Then I'm finding out Larimar's doing crazy. Then I'm finding out Cruise on Land talking about their contract. Then I realized a lot of these projects, they don't care what your contract says. Sue me, bro. I'm just like, this is crazy. And they know sue me means I got to spend extra money and then wait definitely 1 year, maybe 2, maybe 3 before it gets resolved. Meanwhile, I got to pay. Either I have to not pay the condo guy or pay the condo guy or the villa guy and pay the lawyers for an outcome that's undetermined, which could be I get nothing twice. That's how crazy it is. In America, I made the video today about the Florida condos because they have to do litigious situations where they could lose twice. And they lose a different way. Got to pay a lawyer. Got to pay a HOA that has increased. And you're on the hook for $100,000 special assessment, which means now you don't pay it, they could foreclose on your home potentially if they wanted to be mean about it, if you didn't pay it or come up with some sort of payment plan. So these are the type of risks that is out there, and it's happening. So it's very hard for me to sit there and be like, I'm gung-ho with Punta Cana, and these guys are out here taking 5 years, 6 years to build when they tell people, oh, it'll be done in 24 months or 30 months, 36 months. 3 years goes by. Wait, you haven't even started building yet? I'm talking about Reserva Real, for instance, Ocean Bay, all these things, Oceana, but Panorama Garden, Panorama Park. I mean, it's not immune. I mean, everybody's doing it. 5 years later, 4 years later, it's crazy to me. I'm sitting there like, well, right now, if everything stays the same, even if I bought it in a new project, like Seven Palms, they're not late. That's the other thing. They're within their 6-month delivery dates. So they would be at 2026. But all these other projects, they could be 4 years from now is 2028. 5 years from now is 2029. So we have projects that are coming out right now that could be 2028 to 2030, but your payment's going to be done in 2027 or 2026. That just doesn't sit right with me. So I had to start slowing down. So I start slowing down. And what starts happening? I start paying attention, right? I'm just going to tell you guys, I study stuff. So I go online. You guys can do this right now. I go on YouTube and I look up pre-construction condos, new pre-construction condos, put it in the search engine, new construction condos, whatever way you want to do it, several different times. I looked up and I started seeing something very interesting. Hardly anybody has a video out. In other words, I expected to see 2 or 3 videos every day because you can do a search and see the latest upload date for all the videos under that search. So I do that and I'm like, wait, that says 1 day. That says 6 days. This says 9 days. It's not like it was in 2020, 2021, and 2022 when there was freaking everybody making videos. All kind of realtors were on everywhere. So there was a video coming out every day from 10 to 15 different people talking about 5, 6 other projects. Now, hardly anybody. That's wild when you think about it. It's really wild. So that tells me several things. I don't even have to call up the realtors. That tells me just by the fact there's hardly anybody on social media doing places like they used to, that tells me there's a slowdown. If you don't have anybody selling anything, that means you can't have any buyers. If nobody's out there to sell it, you can't have the buyers. So if somebody's making a video every week or every 2 weeks, then that means there's not that many. Like, look, let's see. Some people, Punta Cana pre-construction condos. I'll put it in. Let's see what we got. Let me put in some filters. Let's see what we got. Let's see. Upload date. All right. Okay. So we got NVIDIA earnings. Why do I have that? That's crazy. Okay. This is wild. This is really wild. Hold on a second. So you guys, I got to show some receipts every now and then. You guys just think you got to I do research all the time. It's just that I do it as a habit. All right. This is very interesting here. This is a NVIDIA earnings report, August 2024. But notice 99,000 Punta Cana pre-construction condo. Look here at the top, Punta Cana pre-construction condos. Look at this. 2 weeks ago, yours truly comes up. Nobody between now and truly again, 13 days on a short. Yours truly again, 2 weeks ago. Look at this. 2 weeks ago, the actual video for 99,000. Look at this. How's this possible? 3 weeks ago, another short. Look at this. I'm the only one on here for this search. Punta Cana pre-construction condos. 1 month, 2 months. Look at this. Finally, this is what's his name? Daniel Rodriguez, I think. 2 months ago, the first person, and it's a short. Let's see. Who's the first person under this name? Jesus. There isn't anybody. Look. So what does that mean? Everybody remove their videos? Oh, construction, because I don't usually use that as a search. But let's go see. Puna Kana new construction condos. Okay. These up here, these are ads. So once again, nothing. Here we go. Nope, nothing. Here we go. 2 months. Look at this. 2 months. Where's everybody? Properties under 100K 1 month ago. Blue Marlin 2 years ago. Okay, where is everybody? That's crazy. I'm spelling this correctly. That's pretty crazy. Here we go. Okay, 2 weeks. Finally, somebody showed up. 2 weeks for something different. 1 year, 1 year. Look at this. Is this crazy or what? If this was like 2 years ago, there'd be all kind of listings. Dominican Republic, new construction condos. Here you go. 2 year. Well, hold on. I got to do a search for this, right? We got to do upload date. Hold on a second. All right. Shorts again. Yours truly again. 2 weeks ago. Sponsored. 1 month ago. Yours truly. Like I'm the only guy. Here we go. 750. Oh, that's a rental 1 month ago. Here we go. 1 month ago. 2 months ago, another short. 2 months ago. Look. Why isn't there like before all these new projects? Because there's more to build now. And now you need a reputation of some sort because a lot of people are getting projects that take 4 years, 5 years, 6 years to build. First of all, so now you don't have those people selling and then rebuying again. You don't have that. So people's money's locked up. They can't borrow against it and then buy something else. So the money's locked up. And then they're telling their friends, hey, man, they're like, hey, did you get your condo yet from 2020? No, man, it ain't ready. Wait, it's 2024. You told me it was going to be delivered in 2023 in January or February. What do you mean? It's almost another 2 years. It's going to be 2025 in 3 months. Yeah, man, it ain't delivered yet. So you think that's going to have their friends running down here? That's the way I see it. I told you guys when I started messing up this thing of ours a year ago, that's what I was referring to. But that's also why I was saying that I can actually move in on the market when I was going to do the takeover SSN Nation until the funding actually fell through, because I saw an opening where this thing was going to happen, and I could have positioned ourselves into, that's what SSN Lifestyle is. I was going to move it into the SSN Lifestyle, which was going to be the custom upscale luxury brand, which still is. And so therefore, I would have been able to market it, and I would have had the right deeds already in our name. Everything would have been streamlined, so we own the land from the get-go before anything even starts. So we can market it. We own the land. They go see their attorneys. The attorney says, yeah, man, it's in their name. And then after that, 3 to 6 months, we have a permit. Worst case scenario. So that's why I saw a market advantage that could have happened, because we could have moved quickly. But then, like I said, after it fell through, no SSN Nation takeover. So therefore, I couldn't make that happen. I thought I was coming out of retirement, but no, wasn't. All right, Paul Castillo. Larimar better use quality materials for their 17-story towers, because if they don't, it will be very dangerous. Exactly. See, that's exactly the problem right there, Paul Castillo. But can you guys believe this? How it used to be in the DR? Hundreds of agents marketing. Now, where are they marketing? On Instagram? I mean, I guess. I mean, and we're all on Instagram. Down below at the very bottom of the box, please go sign up for our social media platforms. We also have Robinhood and Weebles if you want to get free shares of stock. One other thing, I have Unstoppable Domains. If you're into crypto, that's an investment for some people. Some people are crazily doing FOMO with crypto. saying Bitcoin's going to be like $1 million or $100,000 by next year. All this crazy. Whether you believe it or not, you have to have a demand for it. But sending and receiving money, do you want to always remember your alphanumeric character, or do you want to remember ericbird.crypto, ssnlifestyle.crypto, stopstrugglingnow.nft? That's where people can send crypto to, the top 350 cryptos. You need unstoppable domain. That's what you need. One-time payment, free minting on the Polygon network. And since you're on a blockchain, you can put a 1-page or 2-page website. You can also put music or video on your .crypto. That's right. It's already a thing. Unstoppable domain, $10, $20. Get your own name, get your company name, whatever you want to do. But at least this way you locked it in. There's no annual fees, no monthly fee, nothing. So it's worth paying $20 for a .crypto. It's worth paying $20 for, I think the NFT is that now. It's worth it for all the rest. .x is probably 40 or 50 or 75. It fluctuates. You know, they have several different extensions. But that's all you have to give people to send you crypto. Incognito, somewhat, because your name isn't on the blockchain. Your alphanumeric character that it went to is on the blockchain. But nobody knows it. You didn't have to give it out. So just think about that. All right. Now, the material thing. I'm going to wrap this up. The material thing, yeah, because it is 17 floors. So whatever happens, whether I'm with the gang for Larimar or not, yeah, hey, check this out, right? People are going to say, hey, man, you ought to be happy. Your 2-bedroom unit, I think they're selling for $200,000. Okay, fine. But $200,000 with 0 things built is worth nothing. And if they're going to build this thing, and as I predict, it's going to be 2027 or 2028 before they get to the first phase, rightful first phase being done, that's 4 years from now. That's a 6-year wait. That's a long time. And to monitor these guys who haven't been fully transparent, I'm skeptical about them saying, yeah, sure, we're going to use the top tier building qualifications here. I'm just thinking, like Paul Castillo saying, 18 floors high, 17 floors high. It has to be some of the best quality stuff, and the best quality costs more. So we'll see. If this shakes out, we'll see. Now, anybody new or anybody watching that's not familiar with Larimar or is also a buyer of Larimar, they got their environmental license for the land July 23rd. We're now in September, so almost 2 months ago. If you're impatient thinking, how come they're not starting to build? Where's the videos? It's simply because it tells me that the environmental license wasn't backed by, once I got that approved, they're going to give me the permit. So they had to do it the old-fashioned way, I'm assuming. Got the environmental license. After that was approved, now we can go with getting your permits. The permit, from when I was going to develop, 3 to 6 months is standard timeline if you own the land. Okay? Because again, there's all kinds of things you have to jump through when somebody else owns the land, but they have an agreement for the land. So you own it. So that could take 3 to 6 months, which means now we're in February. If it takes 6 months. But then we have Manode, who's building something in Sosua. And he said, hey, Eric, man, I sent this over to you just to let you know timelines. He's been waiting 8 months now for his building permit. It's the last thing he needs to start building. 8 months. So it's not unheard of that they can go 1 year. It's not unheard of. So that's the most damaging part with Larimar. If it's not 3 to 6 months and it ends up being like how Minot's property is going, 8 months, 9 months, all of a sudden it's not February. All of a sudden you add March, April, May, you're talking May 2025. And you got to start building 17-story buildings. And even one of those, 2 of those, 3 of those, you start adding 17 stories 3 times is 51 levels. And it damn sure is not going to be able to take you 1 year or 2, because there is no way you're building 2 floors a month. They claim they have this quick build thing, but I'm highly skeptical because you don't have that luxury on volcanic rock. I'm assuming, because you have to understand, I studied a little bit, but that doesn't mean anything. I don't have a degree in this. But an island is formed from volcanic rock coming up like a volcano to form it. That's how you get it. Now, there's certain features, like if you're in Punta Cana, you notice white sands, pretty much sandy. But what ultimately has to be underneath, you're going to bump into volcanic rock. And a mountain on an island definitely has to be volcanic rock pushed up. So, when you start digging down 10 to 15 feet, you're going to run into something. And 17-story high towers have to have footings that's going to be deeper than 14, 15 feet deep. And you're probably going to run into some openings that could be considered caves down below as well. So this will not be an easy situation for the footings as far as I'm concerned. Best case scenario, they get lucky that, well, I don't know how, but let's just say the island was formed thousands and millions of years ago. And let's say the ocean was higher than what it is now. Maybe they get lucky. Maybe it has some sort of foundation. Maybe that was the bottom of the ocean at one time. Who knows? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is they'll know. They'll find out. And I'm not going to be sitting here being optimistic that it's going to be flat land like it is down in Bavaro or something. All right. I don't think it's going to be like that. But if it is, that would help them out greatly, but it's not. They've already checked it out. They already know. It's not. They have to have some special stuff on the ground, special coral that's only indigenous to Dominican Republic. So anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything else you want to talk about, please join me on Friday night at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in case Ocon 36 is watching. And you didn't hit me up with an email at support@stopstrugglingnow.com. If you guys want to join the WhatsApp group, please make sure you join. But you know what? We have a lot of people joining up with these scam numbers. At least they appear to be scam numbers. So you're going to have to hit me up at support@stopstrugglingnow.com. If you have not been allowed into the WhatsApp chat room, hit me up to let me know who you are, because otherwise when I see a 444 numbers or these 32 numbers from overseas, that's kind of like a red flag. And the reason I say it's a red flag is because when I look in my back office, I don't have people that come from overseas. According to them, nobody watches this video except 99% of people from the United States only. Nobody in Mexico, nobody in Asia, nobody in Europe, nobody in Africa, nobody in Central America, South America, only United States. And Google says, we don't know what's going on. That must just be who's watching. I'm like, that's not how the internet works. I talk about stuff that applies to several different countries outside of the USA. But anyhow, that's another story for another day. Go to the WhatsApp group, sign up, hit the join. I have to approve you. But all of you who have weird numbers, you need to contact me. I'm talking about those with 444, 32. They're definitely European numbers in the wrong locations. Russian, type numbers, scammer type countries. All right. Africa. Come on. Google says nobody even watches from these places. The one guy came from Greece because of Ellen Icon. I still salute you. Thank you so much if you ever find and watch again. Yeah, the one guy from Greece apparently watched from outside the United States. Kind of wild. But anyhow, make sure you sign up if you want to come and check out what we talk about. There's not really a lot of back and forth because a lot of people have made investments already. They kind of already understand what they're looking for based on conversations on the live streams. But come join me 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I love you guys very much. I appreciate all of your support over all these years. That's greatly appreciated. All right. And everybody with the icon that's here tonight, I humbly appreciate your financial support as well as your subscription. I greatly appreciate that. So if there's ever anything I can do for anybody, always hit me up at support@stopstrugglingnow.com. Or I am the admin for the WhatsApp group. You can hit me up there privately or within the group. So either way, we got you covered. Plus all the other social media platforms that's down below in the description box. You can join up for that as well. So therefore, go to SSN Lifestyle to sign up for the SSN Lifestyle Punta Cana Investors Forum. Because again, investments matter. You go see the property, you get the lay of the land, you get in touch with some people that you're going to need, like a lawyer will be needed, a bank will be needed. You get that out the way. Then, of course, after that, you want to find yourself some project or property. We go see projects, property, presentations, the area. That's what we do. All right. We just don't want to do this where you just say, hey, here's the property on screen. And if anybody wants any property in the DR, just hit me up as well. I'm a broker, SSN Lifestyle, SRL. I'm a broker. You can look it up. I'm in the DGII system. Good standing. So all's good. All right. So all I can tell you is thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here, but we're trying to make your life a little bit easier. It's a bull run coming up is my best guess in the stock market. The real estate market, the same way. Why? Because there's not 5,000, 6,000 homes for sale. It's not like you have extra homes. Whenever you have a low amount of supply, capitalist system dictates. As soon as you have request more customers than supply, that dictates higher prices, competition. So people are going to outbid people, especially as the interest rates drop. And so by this time next summer, a whole 1 or 2 percentage point drops will mean mortgage rates will be somewhere between either 4% and 3%. The frenzy will be started. And then the middle class, the upper middle class will be wiped out. You have to understand 70% of the population as it stands right now in America lives paycheck to paycheck. So the middle class has been wiped out. Now, after the price increases go to the next level, upper middle class, because they give you up to 40% debt to income ratio to buy a home for a lot of these mortgage lenders now. That is a death knell. You will default if you lose your job and don't have the necessary funds to cover it. As soon as you go over 30% debt to income ratio, the higher you get, the higher the increase in foreclosure rates, default rates. So it's setting you up. So don't go out here thinking, okay, I'm going to buy this $600,000 house. I make $150,000. So what if it costs me $60,000 annually or $50,000 annually? You don't want that because you have insurance that's going to rise. You have property taxes that's going to rise, and maintenance is going to rise. And if you have an HOA, that's going to rise. Just because it's affordable now does not mean, and Victor Morrell can vouch for me, because what's going down in Florida, only because Florida is the hot spot of that, a lot of things happen. But it could be Louisiana, it could be all of them, Alabama, all the states that are in that hurricane pocket, they're all in the same boat. California's in the same boat because of the wildfires. You could find yourself in a situation where you're like, I make $150,000 a year. Give me that $500,000 house. I don't really care if the payment is, what is that? I don't really care if the payments, I can afford it. But what you may not know is all of a sudden your insurance says, hey man, you got to give us like $700 a month now. Property tax, because you bought it at a higher price. Now all of a sudden you thought it was $3,000 a year. Now it's $6,000. See, now you pay $500. You've paid $1,200 more than your mortgage. So now you're paying $5,600 a month. Now you're up to $60,000. Your taxes are $25,000. So your tax afterwards, you're really getting down to $120,000. Now all of a sudden you're sitting there like, okay, that's cool. Now you got a car payment. And the way people are acting stupid these days, $1,000 a month for car payments. So there goes another $12,000. You got daycare to handle. All of a sudden, next thing you know, somehow you're spending another 30, 40 G's. And then you still got groceries to buy, electricity to pay, garbage, water, sewer, and garbage to pay. All of a sudden you're paying an extra $12,000 there. Now all of a sudden that $150,000 household income is down to $1,000 a month left over maybe. But the kids, they got sport events. I'm just saying, you start narrowing it down and you don't realize it. And that's why you can't go with these high debt to income ratios over 28 to 30%. We've talked about this because there's going to be a frenzy on houses. That's why I started talking about housing, because there's going to be a frenzy. And people have to understand, they find a home in one of these areas that have a problem with insurance. That's number one on your list. Check the insurance. Can we even get insurance here? Because if you can't, that's you don't want to buy the house. Why put yourself in that situation? A home, it costs a lot to rebuild any sections of a home. A lot. So hopefully this gives you guys some insights, and hopefully I led you down a path of investors. Do you react to the FOMO? Are you listening? Are you doing research? Are you researching the news? Do you think there's going to be a bull run? Again, it's going to be a bull run, I believe. House, stock market, businesses could, if somebody has a $50,000 small business type of, I don't know what they're going to call it, but if they have that and people qualify, that start a lot of businesses, which then would jumpstart some business boom, which again, that's treacherous if it's a startup. But nonetheless, we'll talk about that on Friday night. You guys get another story on Friday night. You got some bonus stories tonight, but I forgot I got 3 years, so I can't give you guys stories hardly anymore during the Monday and Wednesday. I got 2.5 years left, almost 3 years for that's a lot. 50. That's 150 stories. A little less. 140 stories I have to tell every Friday night if I'm on every Friday night. I'm going to miss one or two. Let's just keep it plain and simple. All right, I'm going to miss one or two because in February, I promised the wife that I'm going to do a cruise. It's her birthday. It's one of those with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60s. So I never been on a cruise. I missed the cruise once, Port Everglades. That's a whole nother story. I can't tell you. That's another story. All right. So anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you stay safe out here because it's people are under stress. They're under duress. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Their jobs are leaning on them because, more in this day and age, somebody's doing the work of two people because the people they fire, they don't replace them. And then you have to do the other person's job along with other coworkers doing their job, right? So a lot of people are under stress, duress, and pressure. So just make sure you keep a level head the best you can. and keep marching forward. And if there's ever anything that you want to discuss or do, we have the chat room that's going to be open on Friday night. And with all that said, keep your head up, keep moving, and I'm out.